I can tell, all the long-term popular ones, and they both tend to be arrogant. I mean, you look at somebody like Sherlock Holmes, who was, just a terribly arrogant character. He was so occasionally so arrogant he almost seemed innocent of the fact that he was so arrogant because he was so smart. So he said, okay, and then what are the other things about, especially looking at the hard-boiled American private eyes, what are the things about these guys that make them that make them popular, make them long-running characters? And, well, you know what? They will all mouth off to exactly the wrong people at exactly the wrong time. And they'll do it every time. And they can all take an enormous beating, and yet still drag themselves out the other side and continue pursuing their goal. And those were the basic character traits that I put together for Dresden. And so, there you go. Kind of a long answer, but right here.
Well, the history of Colin Murphy how he killed himself, his legacy, as will that ever really come out, and will it be important in any way?
Will the history of Colin Murphy, how he killed himself, etc., come out? Will it be important in any way? Well, no. I mean, because that would require that he actually killed himself. And we'll just all leave it at that. Right here, in the zombie shirt.
What do you feel is your biggest cliche?
What do I feel is my biggest cliche? And the easier question would be, what do I feel is my biggest avoidance of cliche? Because there's far fewer of those. The Wizard with Fireballs thing was probably it. I tried not to, but I played too much D&D when I was young. And, that basically it was going to happen. I tried to avoid it, but it didn't work out. Although I have had fun playing with fireballs in like the same way that we used to do in all the old D&D games. It's just 3,000 cubic feet of fire. Now you gotta understand, we're in a 10 by 10 hallway that's this long, which means it's gonna spread out this far. Why are you slowing down the game with that crap? I'm just saying, it's simple math. Yeah, I'm in a room of kindred spirits here. Let's go right here in black and red.
Will we ever see Dresden maybe forced into a situation where he may have to jump through time to reverse?
Will we ever see Dresden forced into a situation where he may have to jump through time to do something? That would require him breaking one of the laws of magic. And it's not as though I have 7 books outlined, one for each law or anything. I'm just saying, that's all. We may probably possibly see some such thing at some point. Over here in the black.
Have you ever had the idea to maybe write like a short story crossing Dresden over into some other universe, like Star Wars or Doctor Who or anything like that?
Have I ever had the idea of having a short story crossing Dresden over into another universe, like Star Wars, Doctor Who, something like that? No, because I don't want to get sued. However, just so you're aware, the Dresden Files universe exists in a big, wide spectrum multiverse. So where it's not like there's parallel Earths. There's an entire, broadband spectrum of parallel Earths, and if you go far enough, you'll find the parallel Earth where Spider-Man is. You'll find the parallel Earth where Star Wars stuff works, so on. Dresden could get there if you really, really wanted to, but stop and think about that for a minute. I mean, would you really want to go to the Star Wars universe? Because you're not going to be a Jedi over there. Odds are pretty good. And really, Jedi are a whole lot scarier from ground level than they are from the passenger seat next to one. There's a bunch of heavily armed fanatics with mind control powers here. They say they want to talk to you. That's kind of spooky.
The RPG actually mentioned that you could have different Dresdens based on different choices he's had in the past books. Does that just for the RPG, or are we actually going to maybe see some of those in the stories?
The RPG mentions that you can have different Dresdens based upon, you can create different ones in the game based upon different choices you made in past books. And is that for the RPG only? No, they came up with that because they know that I'm using that as a storyline in the future. I mean, because I've said several times it's only going to be a matter of time before I can resist doing a Mirror episode of the Dresden Files. In fact, I think I'm just going to call it Mirror. Because come on, that's a great title, and it's the same number of letters and everything. My work is done. I'm down with that. I like it when it's already done for me. In the very back in black.
Yeah, I was wondering, in one of the books, I believe Bob mentioned the Jade Court of Vampires. Will that ever come up?
Will the Jade Court of Vampires ever come up? They might briefly come up in the big finale, on account of they are in China and they are isolationists and they stay isolated. But yeah, there's a gang of Chinese vampires that are known to be trifling.
That's all I wanted to know.
I saw Princess Bride recently, so if a bunch of Princess Bride references slip in tonight, I'm sorry, but it was on TV, and I can't help it. Over here in blue. Okay, as an author, when did I know that Maggie existed? By book 3. By book 3, I realized, oh, wait a minute, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to do this, because I remember there being some huge, there was some huge uproar on the list, and I was still kind of keeping track of things at the time, and, because, man, there's nothing that will get me riled up faster than a discussion on the internet. But there was somebody going on, and somebody was upset about Laurel Hamilton's books, and had kind of gone, they were standing with the argument that, hey, these books have devolved into nothing but BDSM sex that has nothing to do with plot. And then so one of the counter arguments was how could you possibly have a BDSM sex scene that was actually plot relevant? And I went, oh. And it just sort of worked out like that. So, it could be done. Plot relevant. There you go, right there. But yeah, but her existence was planned. The specifics didn't get settled until a little later. But her existence was in book 3. It was about where I figured it out. But run over here.
All in history, every wizard I've ever seen in novel fiction, the ending really wasn't as epic as I had always imagined it. They build characters up to be these great and powerful wizards, but in the end they end up doing something really small to end the books. Are you going to aim for something a little bit more elaborate than
Okay, great powerful wizards are stable, but he said his statement is that generally speaking, these big powerful wizards, by the time they get to the end, what they actually do to accomplish in terms of the big finale of the series is fairly small. And am I planning something like that for Dresden? Yes and no, is the answer to that. The problem with most of the wizards that do that is simply, they aren't the central character of the series. I mean, Gandalf, not the central character of the series, that was Sam. Not Frodo. Frodo was not the central character. Frodo was a junkie who was along for the ride for the most part. Sam was the man. And similar in classical wizards with characters like Merlin. Arthur's the center of that story for the most part. There have been Merlin stories, and so on. But am I going to go all the way to the end of this to have Dresden be the one who, pushes the button that says, destroy the universe? Yes, no. It's not going to be anywhere near that simple. Hopefully, if I do it right, which I don't know because I've never written a 20-book epic fantasy before. Hopefully, if I do it right, we'll set it up to where if it had been anybody else, it would have ended in disaster. But because it's Dresden, we all get to keep getting along. It's sort of kind of what I try and come out with him. If you're doing your job as a writer, by the time you get to the end of your story, any other individual other than that character who's making things happen, if somebody else had been there, it all would have ended horribly wrong. If you're doing